How can sellers get the best photography and video for their listings? How can sellers best prepare for a photographer and a videographer? What is the importance of good marketing in real estate, and does it actually make a difference? But first, you're listening to Chattel Fixtures PEI Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, David Cyrus MacDonald. If you want to stay in the know about real estate on PEI, then make sure you subscribe. Chattel Fixtures now has over 5,800 views and over 780 hours of watch time on YouTube, but still only 61 subscribers. If you want to hear more conversations like this, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. If you're listening on another podcast platform, please follow or subscribe there. And if you want to take it up a notch, leave us a review or a comment. Let's get into this. If you've been looking at listings on PEI, you have almost certainly seen the work of this episode's guest. Michael Thompson is the owner of Odyssey Virtual, a video production multimedia marketing company located here on PEI. Odyssey Virtual creates promotional videos for businesses and organizations across the Maritimes. According to their website, and I believe this is true, they are PEI's top drone company offering certified and legal drone flights. Odyssey Virtual is also PEI's top real estate and property marketing company, specializing in photography and video production. If you ask around the real estate business on PEI, you will find that Michael has a great reputation, and I'm very happy today to have him as a guest. Welcome, Michael Thompson.
Thanks for having me. Those are very kind words.
Hey, it's, I think everything there is just absolutely true. So, when you started, what were the standards of the average realtor in terms of photos and videos, and how has that changed?
Well, I actually started this 6 years ago this month.
Hey, congrats.
So 2017, it was a little bit different. Off island, people were doing professional photos and videos and 3D tours and staging homes and stuff like that in Toronto, BC. You saw it a lot down in the States and stuff like that. But not here. Like, it was pretty, except for a handful of realtors who were either doing it themselves, or I think there might have been one person who was a realtor that was kind of helping other realtors out with one brokerage.
Okay.
On a very light scale when I started. So
yeah,
the industry was much different. It was on its way to becoming a standard,
Right.
having drone content and all these different things on properties. But when I started, I used to pick up the phone and call brokerages and realtors and, beg them, or, I'd have to convince them why they should be using a professional for their listings.
Okay.
Or they were completely confused and had no idea why I was calling them.
Right.
And then I guess...
What did you say? What did you say?
Well, some of them didn't even know what 3D tours were, which was a big proponent of the business when we started.
Yeah.
So virtual tours where you can walk through the house without being there.
Right.
And they were just like, well, how are we even going to use this? Some realtors weren't doing any social media stuff back then. I mean, it's very different, right? So it's like, well, why don't I just go through the home and take pictures on my phone? So it's very different than what it is today.
Yeah.
And it's only 6 years. But it's kind of interesting. So,
so you call a brokerage and you're talking to the broker, and maybe it's some old school person who's never done social media or whatever, which there's still a lot of in the business, many of whom
Yes.
do, in my opinion, excellent work, as well as a lot of new school people doing excellent work too. But you get on the phone with this old school person and they're like, I don't know if we need this. What did you say to them to tell them why it was valuable?
yeah, you can go into the details and give, because there's research on this, right? Like, if you Google right now, why as a realtor should I hire a professional, you can find stats where it's like, if you use a professional photographer, your house will sell for 10% more or 15 times faster, like all the little stats that they have out there. But
Right.
I kind of just, I played more on the business side of things for them.
Yeah.
Like, this is something you can market to your clients as you're using a professional. The other realtors on the island aren't.
Right.
So you should use me.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the angle that I took it on, as more of, like, many people don't know, but real estate agents, they're a business. They're their own business. So,
Yeah.
if you're playing that end of things, it worked out well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I just told them, hey, I want to come take pictures of a house you're listing, well, they don't expect me to show up with a camera and all this stuff. They're thinking, why would I hire someone to come and take iPhone photos of my house? I can do that myself.
Yeah, right.
So, and then once you get them and they do it once, they're in forever.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I have any, there's not many of my clients that have used me and then go back to taking iPhone photos after that. It's
Right,
kind
yeah.
of like once you start, you see the benefit in it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
it's
think
just
like how much of that is how much of that are the clients expecting these days now, do you think? Probably most are.
yeah, it's completely shifted.
Mhm.
Like back in 2017, it was, like I said, in off island, it was starting to become a thing.
Mhm.
And then it was COVID that really changed it here
Right.
specifically.
Okay.
Because like once COVID hit, I never picked up the phone to call an agent and try and convince them why they should use a professional.
Right.
I haven't done that since before 2020.
Right.
Now they call me and they know, okay, I need to use a professional for these services.
Yeah.
Because like if you have a house, two houses identical, one's beside one, they're both beside each other.
Yeah.
One agent's using a professional photographer and the other agent isn't. Which house is going to sell first? When you have, during COVID, most of the buyers were either sight unseen from off island, their first impression and how they're purchasing this home is from the content they see online.
Absolutely. And they're not going to go to a viewing if they don't like what they see in the photos.
Yeah.
They're not going to just go, well, I like the square footage and I like the, it's like, and even if the photos are just okay and shoddy, I do still see some people doing iPhone photos. And I saw a listing that was like very high, very expensive that had just one photo for a while there, which is, it happens still.
It does. And
Yeah.
iPhone photos are getting better, I will admit.
Yeah.
And, you can take good stuff, but there's a whole complexity behind real estate photos. It's a lot more than just taking your phone and snapping the corner of a room.
Mm-hmm.
There's the height that you put the camera at is critically important. The angle of certain places, what you actually take. Like if you have an agent that's just going through the house taking their own photos and they're posting, like I've seen it all the time on listings where they just post like a random picture of, just a tiny little closet with wire shelving and it's $1 million house.
Yeah.
That should not be on the listing, right?
Right. Yeah.
If it's, a walk-in closet on the primary that's stunning,
yeah.
of course. But if it's just an entryway closet with nothing in it, there's no point to put that, right?
Yeah.
So just like those little details and, there's a lot that goes into it in terms of editing too on the back end where, if you just kind of snap, even with the DSLR, not just hating on iPhone pictures, but if an agent has a actual camera and is taking a picture too, and they just go and post that, well, the results aren't going to be that great either, right?
Do you color correct them and that kind of thing? Or?
Yeah, like there's a lot that goes into it. So like cameras aren't as good as our eyes if we're sitting in a room and we're looking at the room.
Yeah.
We can see out the windows. We can see the dark shaded spot next to the island in the kitchen and stuff like that. But if you just take a single exposure photo of a kitchen, well, you don't get that. You can't see the shadows. They're dark. The window's white. And if you have $1 million house on the water, you need to be able to see out that window to see the water, right? Like that's the biggest thing about that property is being on the water.
Absolutely.
So, we take multiple exposed images. So from dark all the way up to way too bright, none of those pictures are passable. But then I put it into, a program like Photoshop and hand blend them together so I can pencil in that little dark spot on the island. So now you can see it. I go to the windows and I use the darker exposure where you can see out the window and I blend in that window. So now you can see directly out there.
Right.
And it makes it all better. And that doesn't even get into the color too, where we're, you have the light that comes in that we don't really see that's blue from outside, or if it's in the summer, sometimes it can be a bit green.
Okay.
We remove all that, right? And then you just get the crisp whites. Because you'll see that a lot, especially in white kitchens now, because white kitchens are so big. The pictures will be yellow or kind of blue hue on the kitchen. It's not the natural color. So removing all that incorrect color makes a big difference. So it's huge. It's really big, and it makes a big difference. Like when you compare, and you can tell, like just go look at 10 listings on MLS and you can see who's doing professional and who's not. I mean, it's very clear. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is very clear. Yeah, it's interesting that is like, I think there's this question that you kind of covered there that I'm going to skip to in my list of questions. And it is, I actually do get different opinions on this from different people. Some people think that it's really just a matter of putting it on the MLS and it kind of does the work or whatever.
Yeah.
But I am a believer that good marketing makes a big difference. Maybe this is just too obvious to discuss in a way, but in your opinion, what difference does good marketing make in terms, I know you're not a salesperson, but you have a lot of experience working in this industry. So what difference do you think good marketing has?
Well, there's a big difference between just putting a house on MLS and realtor.ca and actually taking the time to go through that. Like it comes down to everything, right? It's not just the pictures. You have the write-up where the description is. You know, I've seen MLS listings where it's 2 sentences and it's just like, this house is nice.
Basically, yeah.
Right? You have, I don't know what the character limit is. You probably know. But
2,000, yeah.
Yeah, 2,000 word or letters, characters, yeah. So 2,000 characters to kind of catch someone's attention and bring them in. I mean, that's a big part of it too. Then you have the pictures. If there's a video there, like all these things. And then that doesn't even cover the social media side of things, right?
Yeah.
Because there's, you know, some of my clients out there will just send me screenshots of their analytics of, you know, the performance of the listing video, and it has, you know, 30,000 views.
Yeah.
Well, you think that house is going to sit on the market if it's priced correctly, if it has 30,000 views, versus if you just put it on MLS and just kind of let it do its thing. That is very important. Just having it on MLS is key. But also the back end of things, of those other marketing avenues, definitely make a big difference for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I'm kind of like, I have been using social media to market things for a very long time. With my band Paper Lions, we used to be, I mean, we were on MySpace. We were we worked MySpace really hard back in the day, actually. And some of these a bit earlier social media things, when Facebook came along, you know, we were marketing through that. And I am a big, you know, believer and I do, you know, have a lot of experience marketing through social media. But I also think that, and we may be getting a little off course for your area of expertise, but we'll just discuss it anyway. I also think that there's some of the old school practices that people have in sales can sometimes be missed by, I think, some of the newer school people,
yeah.
Where it's like all that, because social media, it's good, but it's kind of soft, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, for all the people that see it, you're not necessarily directing it to people who are going to buy it, or it doesn't also have that same activation of like that person being like having a conversation with someone, even seeing something on the MLS. If someone sees it on the MLS and they're flipping through like, oh, I kind of like that place, flip, versus like a realtor or a neighbor or someone saying like, hey, did you see this place? What do you think of it? And then it's like, ping, like the whole thing lights up, right? And so I think some of the old school ways that people would communicate, like still on PEI, in my opinion, the top selling realtors are very much on their phone a lot, actually talking and texting a lot directly to people who are engaged in it, who are interested in it. And then that whole kind of like, because sometimes people will like think they want to get something and then miss out on it. And they kind of want to make sure anybody who could potentially be looking at it is looking at it. But also like people in the neighborhood, sometimes people who live in a neighborhood want to choose their neighbors. And there's old school guys out there, and I do this myself, will go and literally knock on the doors of the people in the neighborhood and be like, show them a piece of marketing material from it. Hey, if you know anybody, if you want to pick your neighbors, like, and that, I mean, it's super old school, but I think often people in the social media thing are almost like, afraid of like actually being on the phone, of actually talking to people face to face. And I think that's still where, I don't know about most, but I think maybe most of the sales actually come from, apart from leads generated directly through, say, realtor.ca or other affiliated website, the different brokerage websites, like the different ones that they go out to. But
yeah, well, you want your face out any way you can, right? Especially in your business, right? Where people who know you, or getting your face out there as much as you can, is how you're going to get your income, right?
Yeah.
So like, everywhere, I think a good mix of everything is ideal in all aspects.
That's
and
interesting.
like you said, it's funny because over the years, a good business card goes a long way. Or like these print things that, people are saying are kind of old school now. Well, some of those are a good avenue to go still. Like I know a lot of top end realtors, they still send out mailers. They still, like if they sell a house in a neighborhood, they'll go and they'll deliver a mailer to everybody within a kilometer and say, I just sold this house. Do you want your house sold too? Like all those things are really, really good still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I think it's like, you can also sort of see the complexity of this business for someone just kind of getting started. Like it can feel like a lot probably. And also also not just for realtors, but also for sellers or buyers to navigate this. I mean, ultimately, if you're a seller, you're just like, for the most part, there is like, if you've lived in the house, there is this emotional journey of selling. But then after that, you mainly just think like, how can I get the most money for this? And if you're a buyer, it's like, if I want this house, how can I get it for the best price?
Yeah.
And make sure that I'm making smart decisions and there aren't surprises in terms of like, structural issues with the building or like, major issues. Like, how can I do it smart, or how can I find something that isn't even on the market? Those kinds of things. Those are like the core things that when it comes down to. But then in the world of facilitating all that, it's like, there's a lot of layers there.
Oh yeah. Like I said earlier, like real estate agents, they're their own business, right? They have marketing. Some of them have hiring and firing. Few, but there's some out there that have
definitely.
staff, right?
Yeah.
And then there's staging and dealing with people, the relationships, and then the sales aspect of it's big. Obviously the marketing aspect of it's really big too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot that people don't kind of see in the industry that's really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So you graduated UPEI in 2020.
Yeah.
And so you started in 2017, right?
That's correct.
And you're the number one property marketing and drone video in PEI, but you've been that for a while, and it's 2023. Can you kind of walk through that journey a little bit for the audience here? Because you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
I think when people hear your name and they just know you as this like the big photo and video company for PEI, they probably assume that you're older than you are, for one.
Yeah, I get that
the
quite
journey
a bit.
a little bit. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, I started this business 6 years ago. So it was my second year of university at UPEI. I was taking business. I was always entrepreneurial growing up. Like, I would sit down when I was very young and would watch Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and these type of shows. And I was always doing things like buying and selling stuff on Facebook and, trying extra ways to make a little extra money.
Yeah.
And then, that the only courses that I took in middle school and high school that I even liked, aside from a couple trades classes, were business related. So it was kind of a no-brainer. It's like either take trades or do business, or my original plan was both. I was going to take business, then a trade, and then start a business doing that trade.
Right. Maybe a construction company or something.
Yeah. Like anything. I liked welding, automotive. Those are the two big ones. So those were kind of like what I was going into.
You're a car guy?
Yeah, I like cars.
Oh yeah, so you do like fix up cars and stuff like that?
No, I don't have time for any of that anymore. I'm too busy taking pictures.
But would you is that something that you would do, let's say in retirement or something? Many years from now?
Yeah, I don't know how much I could do it myself. I'd have to learn some more on that end of things. But yeah,
interesting.
It's cool. I like it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously now I'm in houses, so I like houses and construction, carpentry and stuff like that. It's all fun. I'm always doing little things around the house.
Okay, so you've already been entrepreneurial. You're taking business. So in the second year, you started this company.
Yeah.
At the time, you had a co-owner too. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So me, my girlfriend, and I had 2 other roommates. We were living in Browns Court.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And me and my business partner at the time, we were just looking for anything we could do. Like, we would just be sitting there having a couple beers and talking about things. And it's funny, actually, a lot of people don't know, but I was heavily looking into a home inspection franchise, completely unrelated to the real estate business I'm in now.
Yeah.
And then as I was kind of looking into that, the Odyssey virtual idea kind of formed. So the business partner that I had, he was involved in an engineering team at UPEI.
Okay.
He was also in business, but he was on an engineering team that it was a volunteer group. So
Okay.
they were building, it's like a little dune buggy kind of thing, like an off-road vehicle.
Oh, cool.
And then they were racing that in a competition down in the States.
Oh,
So as part of that engineering team, there was a business aspect to it too, where they had to come up basically with like a marketing business plan on how they would sell that dune buggy that they built.
oh,
So then me and him were, just chatting about things, and we're trying to find ideas of how to make extra money or start a business or do something, right?
yeah.
And we're looking into how to, he's looking into how to market this off-road vehicle, and
Yeah.
ideas are bouncing around. And then the idea came up to use virtual reality to basically like to test crash like they do with cars, the dune buggy, and put a VR camera inside of it to show off the safety features. And that was kind of like the marketing aspect that
Oh, that's really smart.
they were going to use, just something different, right? Like everybody's going to go down to that competition in the States and just say, we're going to use social media, just the typical stuff. So kind of wanted to have something a little bit different, something that's going to stand out, and that VR worked. So then we're starting to look into VR, and we're thinking, wow, this stuff is pretty cool. This is going to be the future, just in general. Had nothing to do with real estate at this point.
Okay, yeah.
And then obviously we're like, well, this drone technology is pretty cool too. We can use drones for the same thing. So
Yeah.
and to mesh the two together. And then we started looking at what we could actually do with this technology.
Right.
And we found that there's companies off island, we were looking at Toronto, BC, kind of the bigger cities down in the States that were offering photography and drone video and pictures and virtual reality, like 3D tours. You see it pretty frequently with the Matterport in real estate, but similar idea, and video and these services as a company and offering it to real estate agents.
Oh, cool.
So then we're like, well, now we look at PEI and there's nobody doing that here.
Yeah.
I think there was one guy doing 3D tours for businesses
Oh, okay.
when we started, but there was nobody offering it on a wide scale, and
Right.
especially in the real estate industry. So,
Yeah.
and so that's how we got our start. And from there, we started Odyssey Virtual.
Do you remember getting your first listing?
Yeah, I do.
What happened?
The first job we ever had was the Earth Ship up in Wellington.
No
I don't
way.
know. You know what that is? It's like
Well,
the
yeah,
eco
I know.
home. Yeah.
I know a couple of the people involved in I know Jaden, who did the kind of the other one, right? Like there was like
Oh yeah, the
was
two.
the
Yeah,
two of them.
I was at the second one time. But
Yeah.
that one's in like Hunter River, New Glasgow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other one is up in Wellington.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you were there? That was who it was with?
Yeah, because I know the guy who built it. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, how do we get our first sale right? It's like,
Yeah, I've met him as
so
well.
you go
Yeah.
through your Rolodex of who you know that has a building. So
Okay.
I just called him up one day and he said, yeah, sure, happy to help out. We didn't charge him very much. Like,
Yeah.
and we went and did it and it turned out well. And then we used that. And I think early days we were advertising. We did one of our Browns Court unit and we were using that and sending it out to people too. Just
Yeah,
anything, right? Like I
anything,
think
yeah,
I did my
totally.
parents' house too. And
Yeah. Right. So you're just setting up these ones just to do it and just to get the experience and to demonstrate that, hey, this is what we can actually do. And then the realtors or the brokers might look at that and be like, oh, that's better than what we do right
Yeah.
now. So
yeah, because it's, again, like I was saying earlier, I had to call people and convince them. They didn't know what this technology was here, right? So I had to show these people what it was. So I'd either go and meet with them somewhere and like bring my computer and show them, or, bring the VR headset and let them walk through the house and kind of blow their mind a little bit with that, just to kind of get it in their idea. Because if you just call someone up and say, I want to do a virtual tour, back then they had no idea what they were talking about. So I think it was our third sale. So we had just started this business to do 3D tours and to fly drones. and we got this sale through an agent that's retired now, and we did a drone video of the outside of her house, and then she said, well, what about the inside? It's like, well, never thought about that. So for our 3D tour rig that we were using GoPros.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like a $250 GoPro. I went to Best Buy and bought a little tripod that had a swivel head on it, and I duct taped the GoPro to the top of it and kept the receipt for the tripod because I didn't think that, just in case, I didn't want to spend the $50 and not be able to return it.
Yeah.
Because we weren't sure where that was going to go, and we ended up doing like, I don't know, 10 or 15 homes for her in the next couple months, just doing videos through the house.
Okay.
And then from there, it's like, well, we got to offer photography inside too. So then I went and bought a DSLR camera.
Yeah.
And just YouTubed everything.
Yeah.
I never held a camera, flew a drone. I didn't know what VR really was when we started.
Yeah.
I just, went on YouTube and started typing.
Well, there's endless tutorials on there, especially now, but even then, it's just, you can find nitty gritty how to do different things.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, in the journey of being a realtor, I'm on there all the time.
Yeah, that's great.
It's not just I'm talking to other realtors, I'm talking to my broker, but it's like you're getting information from anywhere in the world, and there's some really good people, and you can just very quickly see. And that's often like I said, there's this, do you know the band Polyphia? They're they're insane guitar players. Like the drummer's amazing too.
Yeah.
But like the guitar playing is like, this is freakishly good, right?
Right.
Freakishly good. And then I was down at the Seaport watching Ashley McIsaac, and he brings out this guitar player from Nova Scotia who is playing kind of like the guys from Polyphia. I'm like, this is obscene.
Yeah.
People don't just play guitar like this.
Yeah.
This is not just this is just crazy.
Yeah.
And then I realized this guy's young. He's probably watching tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah.
He's probably started out learning. He didn't have to wait around for anyone. If you want to learn the new thing, he could just go on to the next tutorial,
Yeah.
Any problem you have, you can get better and better and better and better.
Yeah.
And that's why I think with certain things, it can go the opposite way, where people can just get so sucked into the sort of consumption side of YouTube and of all this social media things, where it can derail your progress. But if you want a certain result, you can go deep.
Well, yeah, like a guitar player, like, I don't know, I took like a month worth of guitar lessons when I was a kid, and it was once a week.
Yeah.
Well, now you can do that every
Constantly.
single day. You can do it 24 hours a day if you want to, right?
Yeah.
And just learn and learn and learn.
You can get close to scratching the surface of everything.
Yeah.
You could do that for years, and it would be just, because there'd be probably, in terms of guitar instruction, there's probably thousands of hours going on there a day. I mean, I'm guessing, but
There has to be. It's like anything. And like you said, it opens the door. It's not just, the guy down the street teaching guitar now. It's, everybody.
Anybody.
Could be you. It could be someone in Ontario, someone down the States. Like it could be really famous people too.
Totally.
Yeah. Or really famous teachers as well. Like, you can run into a lot of high-end lessons on there for free.
For free. Oh, totally. And then I think that's where like the kind of online lessons or in-person thing, it's like, okay, this is where the person can watch you doing it and see your form. Did I hear just something turn off here? 1 second. Pause.
Possibly.
I guess we were just talking about
YouTube.
And I don't know how we'll get back into this. I guess we can use these other cameras to segue that somehow. My iPhone, which is filming you, died. I'm a realtor, not a videographer.
No, it happens.
It happens. But yeah, so in your journey, you were talking about how you got to, at first, you got that DSLR camera and you're just going on YouTube and just figuring out your way through it. Now from there to where you are now, where you've done, like, how many videos have you done? How many listings have you done? Has it
in total? I have no idea. Yeah. I know last year we did well over 700 properties.
Just last year.
Yeah. Wow. The year before was just over 500.
Right.
I don't know. I could go back and look, but I never counted in total over 6 years what it's been. But
right, yeah. But it's gonna be probably you're looking at a few thousand or something. That's crazy.
I would say, yeah, over 6 years.
Yeah. So you've developed a little bit of experience in this amount of time.
Yeah, like I've
Yeah.
seen a lot, and doing it every day makes a big difference.
Yeah. What do you think it actually, maybe I'm going to just frame this question in a certain way. So you're on your way there, a realtor sending you over, and the seller, maybe they're preparing it themselves, maybe the realtor sending someone to help them, maybe not. But let's assume that you're just giving the realtor advice to give to the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
How would you suggest they advise their client to do with the home if the seller had, in the scenario, they had 1 hour to prepare, another one, they had 1 day to prepare, 1 month, or 1 year?
Yeah. To preface this, it depends on the person who owns the house, because some homeowners are very okay with doing things and some are very not.
Right.
Like there'll be homeowners that don't want to do anything.
Yep.
No matter what either I say or a stage or realtor or anything like that tells them to do. They'll just say, no, come shoot it. Let's post it tomorrow.
Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you have someone who's willing to do stuff.
Yeah, let's assume that.
1 hour, I mean, it's tough, but try and get as much out as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be kind of the first step, no matter what.
Yeah.
The more clutter you have, the worse it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So try and clear your counters. Like if you have to pile it in one room, try and choose a room that's not important, or the garage or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or
closets.
I say this kind of jokingly, but if you can get a dumpster there and just everything, as much as you can get out of your house in an hour, and then quick sweep to get, if you move a couch or something and there's dust under there, I wouldn't go too hard. Like don't be, scrubbing down the windowsill or something like that. Try and use your time to get things out of your house, I would say.
Yeah. And then if you have a full day?
A full day is a little easier because it's quick to kind of move things out. Yeah. Putting things back takes more time. Right. So again, same thing. Declutter is the biggest thing no matter what. Yeah. No matter how much time you have, declutter is massive.
Yeah.
People want to buy the house. They don't need to see your laundry. They don't need to see, 15 different things on the counter, your dishes in the sink. Mm-hmm. Like these are all things. We're trying to market your property to show the best it can. And if people are looking at a photo, again, like I said, online, people buy houses sight unseen.
Yeah.
They come to view your property based on the pictures we're taking that are online. Mm-hmm. So anything that we can do to make it show better, and just decluttering is massive. I think as long as the floors and stuff and there's no visible dust on things is good too, especially things that are darker, like anything that's black, try and get that cleaned off.
Right. If
you have stainless appliances and they have scuffs and crap all over them, try and clean that as big too. I see that quite a bit where people kind of forget to clean the appliances, and everything is a little bit more reflective in a camera. So if you have that stainless appliance, you can see stuff off of that a little bit more, especially if the light's hitting it. Right. If you have the sun coming through the window. Mm-hmm. Same with the floors. If the sun's hitting the floors, you can see footprints and stuff like that in that area way more. Mm. If you have a day, you could consider hiring a cleaner to come in too. Yep. And again, it just depends on how bad the house is. Some people are just ready for pictures every day.
Every day. Absolutely. Their place looks like it's like set up for, Instagram influencer sort of situation.
Yeah, exactly. So declutter is the biggest one though, across the board. I would say like a month, then you could get in.
Again, now we're talking about someone who has a bit of time.
Even a week is still pretty good.
Yeah. It's more of the same, but is there anything, say the next level, something maybe introducing things that are a bit more difficult maybe?
Yeah, like painting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you have more, you could do it in a day, but
that takes
I've come into homes where people still have the roller brush going on the wall while I'm setting up for my camera, right? So yeah, like if you have a room that's dark red or dark blue or kind of an outdated color or something like that, and you get into, because I know many of my clients will recommend homeowners kind of just go and paint things a little bit more neutral. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like people will say, well, why do we have to do that? We're leaving the house anyways. Let the new owner do it. And it's like, well, it can make a big difference. You can get a lot more money for a house that has, you know, a fresh neutral coat of paint than, because when I take my photos, if you have even your ceiling painted, you know, a color, which I've seen before, and all the walls are all dark and you have dark furniture in there,
It's going to feel small.
Exactly. Even in my photos, and I do everything I can to kind of widen things up, it's going
Yeah.
to compress that room and make it look small.
Mm-hmm.
So if you painted everything kind of just, it doesn't have to be white, but, you know, light blue or light, like just light colors in general are good. And then if you have a month, you could, again, same thing, just on, it depends on your budget, but you could get into painting cabinets, you know, doing more modernizing, I guess. You know, you could
Fixtures?
you could look into doing fixtures, like all those putting paint on a lipstick or putting lipstick on a pig, I mean, kind of things are good for me.
Yeah.
And then obviously for realtors, they talk about like updates on the furnace and, you know, more of those things, but I don't take pictures of those. But so all the aesthetic things are kind of important in terms of photos. But yeah, if you have the budget for that, and some people don't, but
Yeah.
if you have a week, just like the cleaning is the big thing.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be like, you know, it's more of hiding things, I guess, because it doesn't have to be like you don't have to be able to eat off the floor.
Yeah.
But if there's, you know, a piece of a bagel in the kitchen on the floor, we're going to have to move that for the picture, right?
Yeah.
So it's more of that sort of thing. And then
Clean your bagels.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jumping out. You feel free to decline this if you want, or take a stab at it if you feel like it. I won't hold you to this one. What about a year?
Yeah, it's the same sort of thing. It's if you have the money to do things to your home, it's
The exterior, maybe?
yeah, even in a month you could do exterior stuff too. I touch a lot on interiors, but the same applies to the outside. A day, a week, an hour. If you have a bunch of garbage outside, let's try and get rid of that too.
Yeah.
Even if you just take it and put it in the garage, or if you take it and put it down at the end of your driveway or something like that. Like a lot of times, even garbage cans, like the green and black garbage cans outside, I'll take them and put them down by the road so that they're not in the picture.
Yeah.
Or like if you have, I don't know, some people will have outdoor furniture they just leave out and it's half buried in snow this time of year and, you know, fallen over, like pushed up against the house. If you have time and it's not frozen, to try and move some of that stuff out too. Just anything that's going to distract, right? Because the last thing you want to do is have someone looking at a photo and then they just see something that makes them not want that house.
Yeah. And then
So we're
flip next listing.
Yes, and that's what we don't want, right? We want the people looking at the photos to want to either come see it or buy it. So any little thing that you can do, and that, you know, animal stuff, we try and move as much, or if not all, animal stuff out of there as possible too.
Yeah.
That's one little detail that that I didn't mention. But yeah, if you have like a big cat tree in the window, we'll try and move that out of there too, or like a dog cage or something like that. We'll try and get rid of that.
Yeah.
Same thing, just because I think I have 2 cats, but people seem to be a bit more cautious when they see cat stuff, it seems.
I have had a cat nightmare before.
Yeah.
I was in a home that I owned. The renters, the cats hit it hard.
Right, yeah.
And at first it was like, okay, let's shampoo the carpets. Okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's start cleaning furniture. Okay, that didn't work. Let's start throwing out furniture. Okay, that didn't work.
Let's bulldoze the house.
Let's start ripping up flooring.
Yeah.
That didn't work. In the end, what we needed to do was take up all the flooring except for there was one room that was okay, and put like sealant, like bin on the subfloor.
Yeah.
And then put in all new flooring.
Yeah.
And we were doing it room by room, just we were holding it
Yeah,
up like,
so
this
you
is the
didn't have to
worst
do
room. So
everything,
hopefully
yeah.
if we just do this room, it'll be better. You do a room and it'd be like, it's still there.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing all but one room, and it was just a smaller bedroom that just the cats, I guess, didn't go into. But
yeah, obviously that's
an unusual
extreme. Yeah.
situation though. Like that, I've never been in a situation like it was. You open the door and you step 5 feet back, and it was like hard smell
I've been
right?
there. Yeah.
So
dogs and cats, by the way, both. But for some reason, people seem to be more hesitant when they see cat stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a big one.
And again, I don't want to put too much, like, it's hard because people have pets. I have a dog. I love pets.
Yeah, like I
love
said, I have
animals.
2 cats and a dog. So,
Yeah. So, and I think it's a really tough environment, just since we're on this topic, it is such a tough environment for renters who have pets right now.
Oh, it is.
Because even if you don't have pets, it is so hard to find a place to rent within any kind of budget, right?
It's impossible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean,
especially that's pet friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a whole other layer. So I hate to say anything that discourages people renting. And the vast majority of renters who have pets take really good care of it.
But for some reason, like, you might have the person that's going to buy that house, and that's where their head goes.
Yeah, and maybe
then they don't buy the house,
like
right?
And that changed me a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah,
right? Like, it was a little traumatizing, to be honest.
And that's the other thing too. If you have animals while I'm there taking pictures, I like animals, so I'm always playing with them and stuff, and I don't mind. But yeah, we can't have the animals in any of the photos.
Yeah.
If they're, cat laying on the couch or a dog sitting by the door, we got to move those.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have the animals in the picture either, or people.
Yeah.
And you don't get in the mirrors of the pictures. So
yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
What do you think of the idea of having people in it, like, on purpose?
I've seen it done really well. Less on the I haven't really seen anybody doing photos where the people are in them. But they do it quite a bit where you have people in the video, especially on the higher end homes. And I've had different times where I've had people in videos, but not a full time. I've had like an arm,
like the realtor, the vendor, the
realtor in the video is pretty common. I'm talking more about, like, a cinematic shoot where a car pulls up in the driveway and it's a nice car, and then out gets a couple, and maybe if they're depends how you're trying to market the house. If it's a family home, a family gets out, and
so
they go into the house.
Not necessarily the seller.
It could be, yeah.
Or influencers,
if they're good, yeah. Then, but yeah, like, I've seen, there's some beautiful videos out there of real estate videos where they have people in them. They come inside and they pour a glass of wine in the kitchen, but kind of more homey, right? I like the idea. Yeah.
Yeah. They do that with, like, marketing videos, like tourism marketing videos. There's people all through that, and they're like people that are often hand selected by the marketers to be in it.
Oh yeah, I've been a part of videos like that too, for tourism specifically as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's actors usually on a more professional level, but I've shot houses on PEI where the homeowners wanted to be in it.
Yeah,
like one I'm thinking of right now that I did. I think it was last year. The homeowners had like a beautiful backyard and they wanted to take their dogs for a walk. So at the very end of the video, I showed a drone clip of them walking with their dogs.
Oh, nice.
In the, like, kind of the pasture area.
You give some life to it.
Yeah, like one place I went to had this crazy fire pit in the backyard that was like, it cost as much as a kitchen.
Oh, wow.
So, we had 2 people sitting there drinking some wine and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Little things like that for sure. I mean, it can make a big difference.
Yeah. That's
kind of it shows the vibe of the house, right? And you're kind of marketing that story, right?
And what that place could be.
Yeah.
If they're highlighting it in a good way, that kind of shows the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, as long as it's well done, it can be really impactful. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Very cool.
For sure. But realtors, a lot of realtors like getting in the videos too.
Yeah, there's like those kind of walkthrough videos that, like, Anthony Delauder does a lot, or like the kind of like Ryan Serhant, this New York $1 million listing guy.
Yeah,
that's his
style.
Yeah,
exactly. I've done everything from just a quick snippet at the front where they just say the address to full every room they walk through. So and that can be helpful too, right? Because once you add in the audio part of that, you can tell people things they can't see.
Yeah.
Like, I just shot a property that's very environmentally friendly. So they have all these different things that are behind the walls that you can't take pictures of. Now, you can put that in the real estate listing, but if you're just blasting this video out, sometimes people don't read that. They just see the video, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to do, I think, like a voiceover for that one, just to show it's got geothermal and whatever else. So
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
just to add something else to it.
This adds a lot of complexity potentially and could add a lot of time, but it's interesting just to think about where this may eventually start going, because I think people are all like, people want to make sure that it's marketed as well as possible, but it's also such a big investment that people want to be really careful with how they do it. You know, you don't want to do something sort of half-hearted or sort of lackadaisical, or just be like, let's just try a little bit of this or that. You know, you want it to be really well done, so that it actually sells.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Like I had thought about like that if you had the vendors in it, but then it's like, you know, you could also imagine someone like, oh, so-and-so lived there. I don't know if I want to live in the same place as so-and-so. I don't know.
Yeah, PEI, I could see that. Yeah.
Or the opposite too.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, wow, it's cool. We get to live in the place that so-and-so did, but it just like adds an element of risk.
Yeah, it does. As long as it's done well, like anything. I mean, it can be really beneficial. So just a random, half duplex in West Royalty.
Yeah.
Probably not needed.
Yeah.
But like, some of the nice homes or unique homes that I went to, like you could really do cool things with that.
Right.
Yeah. You see it, like if you look at listings in Vancouver, there's a company there that does a lot of it. They'll have, a Lamborghini pull into the driveway and, a guy in a suit and a girl in a nice dress, and they go into the house and they're in this, $3 or $4 or $10 or $20 million home.
Yeah.
And they're kind of walking through it, and you see kind of the highlights, and it's just like a little, like it's like a commercial.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But for the house. So
yeah, it's very interesting. I'm kind of like, I haven't even been looking at my questions here. We covered most of it. Over the years, you've worked with a lot of realtors. Yeah. So from your perspective, what is the difference between the realtors who you might hear from once or twice and the realtors who you might hear from time and time again, the ones that are getting more listings through the years, who are having long-term success? Have you noticed consistencies?
Well, I will say the first thing is there are a lot of realtors that sell a lot of homes that don't do a very good job on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of part-time realtors that I have as clients that only sell 10 homes a year that do a fantastic job.
Right.
So it's hard to gauge, but if I were, and you may think I'm biased because I'm in the industry, but like as a photographer, my first question, if I was selling my house tomorrow, would be, do you use a photographer? That would be a very good way to wean out what kind of agent you're going to find.
Right.
Because if you think about it, like you're giving away 5% of your house, the money you get for your house, plus HST, so it's actually more than 5%.
Yep.
To one or possibly two realtors. The buyer and the seller could be different. But you're giving away that 5%. So technically, you're like, if I were going to use you, I'd be hiring you at that rate. And if you have an expensive home, that's a big chunk of money. That could be, $50,000, right?
Yep.
$1 million home.
Yep.
And you're paying somebody to market your house, to sell your house. And if they're just coming through, if you have $1 million home and they're just coming through with their phone, what does that say about them? They're not willing to spend a part of that $50,000 to hire me for $200 to come and take photos of their home. And there are realtors out there that are like that, right? So, even if they get half, it's still $25,000. Yep. So they can't spend, $500 on Facebook ads or $200 to hire me. So the better realtors on the island, from my experience, are the ones who are willing to more so go out of their way to give the client the best experience possible.
And I think one of the things with that too is, in most people, most realtors would pay for this out of pocket in advance. And the seller would not, they would come out of their commission should the place sold. And I do kind of like the idea of the realtor having a little skin in the game, even if it's a small amount. If they're shelling out some money from their pocket, that means they do really intend to sell this. They're not just putting it out and just saying like, if it sells, I get it. If I don't, who cares?
Yeah.
If you want that sold, then at least if that person is investing in marketing the property with some of their own cash and they have a little of their own skin in the game, you got to think that affects it psychologically in terms of their desire to actually get it sold.
Yes. And like I said earlier, like I know many of my clients, they don't even use me for the photos. They use me as more in a business sense. They use me as a marketing tactic because when they sit down with clients, they say, I use the best. He's the number one property marketer on the island. He's going to come into your house and he's going to make it look great. So that goes, for
Exactly.
everything.
That can help the realtor get the listing as
Yes.
well.
Yeah. And that's like, I know realtors on the island who hire stagers, thousands of dollars to come in, get all of your furniture out and bring all new furniture in. Like, yeah, that's the big difference to me from the good and the bad are the ones who are willing to invest not just their time, but their
actual
their
money.
commission into your home. Because I've been to houses where the homeowner pays me instead of the realtor, and it's like it doesn't look good. But maybe the homeowner doesn't know better or something like that.
Yeah, or maybe it's they're getting some kind of discount on their commission, or like there's different things that maybe are at play here.
Yeah, but it happens so little that the homeowner pays me that's a major red flag.
That yeah.
If the realtor's making you pay for me, I would think about getting a new realtor.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it happens 2 times a year out of over 700.
Right.
And it's not what you're talking about.
No.
Where they're giving the owner a deal. This is, kind of shady.
Right.
And
Just
it's either
like, oh, they'd be willing to do this, so I'll just push them for everything that they're worth, as opposed to like, no, this is how I run my business.
Yeah.
But
you're right. I mean, a lot of realtors, all my clients, they just build it into the listing. Yeah. It's going to cost me X amount of dollars every time I list a home because I'm doing these 3 things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that allows them to feel like, okay, this aspect of the marketing is done. I can build a reputation on saying I am going to deliver this marketing for you, and people can trust that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
There is. And I think like not to like overly push back on that, because I generally agree with all of that. I think there is some of the more old school people who don't necessarily prioritize this. In the end, for the most part, what matters is that the place sells for the best price possible. And some of these old school people, they have like killer negotiation skills. They have experience like helping you navigate this on kind of an emotional level, so that you don't say, if someone throws in a lowball offer and you believe that there's going to be something better on the horizon, them knowing you and you knowing that the realtor kind of bringing that experience to know like, okay, no, we can turn this down. And the person's like, oh, but I'm afraid. It's like, I'm here for you.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to get this done. And there's all these other layers to it. So I
As
just
long
say that
as-
to like,
yeah.
not like from my perspective, I want to make sure that some of these old school people that aren't necessarily, this isn't the aspect they're investing. For me personally, I wouldn't necessarily completely discount
Not
their
always.
ability. Yeah.
There's always exceptions.
Yeah.
However, I will say, if they're not investing in the marketing aspect side of things,
What else are they?
then they're not getting the leads coming in. So
Right.
despite having the best back end skills, if they don't have someone, if you have, again, 2 houses side by side, and you have someone looking at both of these houses, and one person has more money and they choose the one that has the good marketing,
Yeah.
as opposed to the other house, well, then it doesn't matter the back end skills of that
Exactly.
realtor
Because if
too.
that buyer's not there to negotiate with in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You need a mix, like I
Absolutely.
said. But
Yeah.
you can't discount someone
Yeah.
entirely. But that's 100%. That's where I would go. That would be my first question.
Yeah.
Because it shows, and I mean, there are a lot of old school realtors on the island that know this, and they're using professionals.
Yeah. At least
it doesn't have to just be me.
At least good
It can be
photography.
anybody. But yeah.
At least good photography.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think that's like the number one visual component, and maybe the number one thing of any of it.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
like
it's a
when you're
standard
going
now.
and
Like,
looking. Yeah.
yeah, unless they're planning on selling your house to the neighbor and they just go knock on the door.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who looks at that house will see the photos first.
Exactly. That's going to
Yeah.
be the thing.
And
Yeah.
then the video too is also big too. That's key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to talk about that we didn't cover?
No, not unless you have any more questions.
I think that's most of the questions that I had here. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
You can go to my website or any of my social medias, and you'll be able to find email, phone number. You can text me, call me, anything like that. So it's Odyssey Virtual on Instagram, Facebook, big on YouTube. My website's odysseyvirtual.ca.
Yeah, we'll put odysseyvirtual.ca in the show notes.
Yeah, and you can find me there. My contacts there, emails all there, and everything. So
perfect, Mike. Thank you so much for coming in. I learned a lot today. I think it's probably the audience learned a lot, and yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A pleasure.